like minigames, was first created and released in Japan. This obviously means that all the dialogue and descriptions were originally in Japanese. This includes descriptions for yokai skills. Now, Yokai Watch 3 is a massive game. There's a shit ton to translate. And at this point in Nebula 5's lifespan in the West, they were doing very poorly financially. The translation team was very small, so you really have to give them credit for taking on this huge project, and you can't blame them for making translation errors. But these translation errors are everywhere. The more you look, the more you see. But the worst of them are located in the important competitive effects, obviously. As if we didn't have enough difficult shit to understand. God. Well, that's why we're here. I've got 6 skills today that are very vaguely worded or just flat out lies due to translation errors, and I'll tell you in this video what they actually do. Let's just get into it. First is a skill you all know my affinity for if you've seen some of my videos before. This is Jarguard. Jarguard is the skill given to Hee Hee Heel, Krunger, Ernaconda and Treasure Pest. There's also a reskinned version called Linebacker for Usapion Football, which has the exact same effect and same badly translated description. It says, has extremely high chances to guard. That's just a lie, man. This has been the skill description since the first game. I cannot believe nobody picked up on this. What the skill actually does is double the effects of guard. So the guard multiplier is changed from 0.5 times to 0.25 times. This covers both physical and magic damage, so it makes the 5 yokai with it some of the best tanks in the game. Krunger and Usapion Football are the 2 most commonly used thanks to their offensive ultimates, but Hee Hee Heel is also quite good and underrated. A healing ultimate on a tank that can take it this well is an incredibly unappreciated quality. It's a repeated way to keep himself alive without having to risk breaking guard, as well as giving the rest of your team more longevity against area damage like Ultimate Spam, Slimamander and Hazards. Ernaconda is only useful on Edzoff teams thanks to AoE and Spirit's ultimate, but he is quite good there. Treasure Pest is the weird outlier out of the 5, but he is the only user of the skill in Eerie Tribe, and having a unique role in a certain tribe is a great quality, even if other yokai in different tribes do it better. And Eerie is just such a good tribe that you'll probably find you're using him as another team much more than you'd expect. I hope that if you take nothing else away from this video, that you realise how good the Jarguard tanks really are and use them in your own teams. Next up are 2 unique skills from 2S ranks, Stay Frosty and Flash of Inspiration. These skills are unique to Snow Spectre and T-Energison, and boost crit rates of water and ice element attacks respectively. Or do they? Instead, Stay Frosty boosts ice crit rate and Flash of Inspiration boosts lightning crit rates. This one is just confusing to me. I get how they might mess up and accidentally give T-Energison the ice description, but how the fuck do they manage to accidentally make Snow Spectre's description the water boost? The only other skill that boosts element crit rates boosts wind, and that's completely fine, there's no translation error there. But there isn't any other skill that boosts water. I mean, I suppose the kanji for water and ice look pretty similar. That's really the only reason I can think of. I wish this was a real skill though. It would make Supyo a much more viable and fun yokai. Not really much else to talk about here, just that these weirdly scrambled elements in these 2 skills are important to talk about because I know a few people that have gotten this wrong in the past. Next up are Superconductor, Windbreaker and Firewall. Superconductor is the skill for Frazzle and Komajiro S, Windbreaker is Flushback and Vacuum Ray skill, and Firewall is exclusive to Komasan S. This one isn't worded very well and took me quite a while to understand, but I doubt it's a translation error, just poor wording on the translation team's part. It says, blocks all damage from lightning/wind/fire techniques. I don't even know what an unaware player would assume this means. Maybe immunity to the element, but that's already on the different skills and worded much better. What it actually does is redirect all damage with the specified element to the user. Even if the pin is on another yokai or the user is protected by a vertical link, they will always take the hit. This can really mess up some teams, but it's a pretty niche effect and can be difficult to use. The only low rank with any of these 3 skills is Flushback, but how many teams really need to waste a slot on a shitty healer just to protect against wind damage? This strategy also completely fails against Mython, as the damage will not only be redirected, but it will hit for weakness, so they really won't last that long, as all of the yokai with these skills resist the element they're blocking. It's just very matchup dependent and hard to make work, but it is still an interesting and unique effect that wasn't explained well at all in English. Next up are Penetrate and Average. Penetrate is a widespread skill on yokai like Apak, QB and Old Fortune, meanwhile Average is exclusive to Fu2. These skills use the word affinity in their descriptions, which might be confusing to newer players. It doesn't really explain the effect at all, at least I didn't get it when I first started playing, so I thought it would be worth mentioning. Affinity for an element means the yokai takes resisted damage from that element. For example, Sprunk has affinity for fire, so an Incinerate from QB would do neutral damage rather than resisted damage. Just thought I should clear that up because it's not the best term to use in that situation. Next are Herbivora and Carnivora. Carnivora is exclusive to Carniboy, meanwhile Herbivora is used in Herbiboy and Eusepion GI under the name Standoff. The description of these skills are similar, stating all yokai find it easier/harder to attack. This might also be confusing at first. Does it make them more likely to loaf, to guard? Does it make them more accurate? Well, if you've ever played a Yokai Watch game, you know that the moves that your yokai uses is entirely RNG dependent. You can influence what they do using attitudes, but this still doesn't guarantee it. For example, a rough Eldorago will still probably shock once per battle, if you're unlucky. There are also some yokai like Sad to the Bone who are incredibly unlikely to attack, even if they have a rough attitude. This is where these skills come in. Herbivore and Standoff reduce all yokai's chance to use their physical attack, meaning they're more likely to use their technique, guard or loaf. Carnivore does the opposite. Out of the two, Carnivore is much more useful because it pairs well with switcheroo attackers such as Sad to the Bone and Unfulfilled, and it can be used on Poison Dragon teams to make your opponent more likely to use their physical attack, even if they're magic attackers. This is the only really way you can deal with magic attackers on Poison Dragon teams, and you still need pretty good RNG to it, but magic attackers usually just make this team fall apart anyway, so it's not the most consistent strategy, but it can work. Herbivore and Standoff, rather, rarely actually contribute, even in teams where you think they'd work well, such as Double Pandora. If any of you have seen good usage for this skill in the past in Yokai Watch 3, please let me know. Finally we have Tangle Up, Takedown, and whatever other skills have this effect that I'm forgetting. These are the skills for Flocked and Nunchucky. Infinite Undoing is Infinite Enma's special version. The in-game description reads, resets move timers of enemies attacked. This is just a lie, flat out. What I assumed is that it set the move cooldown of any yokai hit to the user to its max. For example, hitting a Noe would put him at exactly 7 turns of move cooldown, or Banyan at 4, etc. But what it actually does is raise the move cooldown of any yokai hit by 1 turn. Infinite Enma's version instead makes it 2 turns. This doesn't seem too strong at first glance, but it can really mess with teams that require a lot of grid movement because of Charge Soul. Users of this skill are almost exclusively paired with the Blowaway Soul, so you can disrupt the enemy formation and do it for longer. It doesn't really do much if they aren't already waiting for their cooldown to end, but it still forces the yokai hit to move back into position, so making them wait the extra turn is just even more annoying. And that's all the skills I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about Resurrection Origin skill, but I genuinely have not been able to figure it out, neither has anyone I've asked. This shit is so awfully worded. And I've not only seen Japanese teams use this skill, I've also even used it myself and fought against it, and I've never once seen it trigger. There are likely also other skills I missed out on that I didn't mention, so if there are any enough mentioned in the comments, then I'll make a second part. But for now, that's it. See you next time.